Good afternoon to you, our dear esteemed viewers. Welcome back to your weekly episode of the Youth Roundtable. This is Civic Space TV. My name is Douglas Onen, your moderator for today's conversation. Today we are dissecting a very interesting conversation that looks at the PFF and ANT Alliance. And we are intersecting or we are discussing the opportunities and the challenges that it presents to the opposition. And the discussion, of course, is going to give us a perspective of course, the young people. Joining me to discuss this very interesting conversation and timely conversation is a panel of distinguished ladies and gentlemen who will help us put and unpack this conversation. In no particular order, allow me to introduce my guests and also give them the chance to say hello and then dive straight into the conversation. I'll begin from my extreme left. In my extreme left, I'm joined by a gentleman from Makerere University. He goes by the names of Opio Christopher. Opio Christopher is the chairperson of People's Front for Freedom, that is PFF in Makerere University. Pierre Christopher, you're most welcome.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you. Very happy to have you here and looking forward to having an interesting conversation with you.
I'm glad, thank you.
Yes, right next to Mr. Pierre Christopher, we are joined by a youth leader from the Alliance for National Transformation, ANT, or ANT, by the names of Mr. Ntale David. You're most welcome.
Thank you.
We're very happy to have you and looking forward to an interesting conversation.
Thank you.
You seem to be very calm, and yet we know when you start to speak, you're going to utter very serious.
Alliance for National Transformation eventually is known for being calm.
Yeah.
At least you can see General Montre is a calm man. That's what
that's what defines.
There's always an anointing on every leader that always flows down to people under him. So if that's why you find if a leader is corrupt under him, there will be corrupt people.
So it's a value that transcends in all the leaders in Alliance for National Transformation.
Mostly. Majority. It's a majority.
Interesting. All right. Right next to you, we are joined by the only lady on the show. You're most welcome. The lady in yellow, Asinde, Proscovia. You're most welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, very happy to have you here. I know you're the chairperson in Magola sub-county.
No.
And of course, we're very happy to have you here. And we shall get perspectives from the National Resistance Movement angle too.
Okay.
All right, thank you. So let's just get into the conversation. Allow me to begin with you, Mr. Ntale. The conversation that we're discussing now is one that looks at an alliance. You know, historically, we have had an alliance right from 1962 to date. My constitutional history serves me right. There was a point in time whereby Kabaka Yeka and UPC formed an alliance so that they could, of course, present a formidable force against the then Democratic Party. But also see later on in the earlier days around 2011, we saw an alliance that came up with the party that pushed, of course we all know the party that pushed Honorable Amama Babazi go forward. And today we are having PFF and ANT forging an alliance. But let me just read this verbatim. So the agreement that is going in between Alliance between Alliance for National Transformation and People's Front for Freedom is one that aims to build a unified front for the 2026 general elections by fielding 1, joint candidates, 2, coordinating campaign strategies, and 3, avoiding competition in key key races. Just before we get into the nitty-gritties of the contents of this agreement, could you give us a historical backing that informs the decision that ANT and PFF have taken to form or forge this alliance or this marriage?
Yeah, eventually, the people of Uganda, you see, you have talked of so many efforts to make those alliances. Yeah. So it's a demand from the people of Uganda. Everyone, some even either there are those who say it provocatively, but there are those who say it genuinely. They want to see the opposition unified, and it's once upon a time there's a good orator who said, "We either work together as brothers or we'll perish together as fools." And so the leaders, our leaders, showing that they want to do what the people demand. They are putting the people's interest at the forefront, because our motto as Alliance for National Transformation is people first, a new future. So we have had leaders who say me, I'm not working for you, I'm working for my family, myself and my family, and our leaders are showing that they are not like that. They are putting people first. So the background is informed by that aspiration of the people, what the people want. They want the see opposition united, and our leaders are responding to that.
To the call and the demand of the people.
Yes, and the demand of the people. And yes, and it's a good thing. Generally, unity is a good thing. It's something worth trying, no matter how long, because someone talked of someone who made the bulb. He tried more than like 1,000 times and then finally made it. So it's something worth trying. And if anyone who wants to criticize this, I don't know what your intention is, but if any criticism should be coming on how to do it better, not why it is there, or why are those people doing it. Like, it should be coming on how can we do it better. You should be criticizing those who do not keep their word. If anyone just decides to go against what was agreed, that's the person we should be criticizing. Be like, but you agreed on this. And so the important thing is that they are trying to make an effort to meet what the people want, because eventually we have so many problems in Uganda that can easily be solved by government, and they are not being worked upon, and people are complaining, but then they are voting the same government, which is done, and they give the excuse that the opposition is not united, is disorganized. So we are making the effort to meet that.
Your argument anchors on one ground, that the Alliance for National Transformation, according to your motto, that looks at people first, and people first for a new future. From that background, you then informs your decision to enter into an alliance with the People's Front for Freedom, which now makes me invite my brother Christopher to this discussion. Looking at what my brother David just discussed, that they looked at the demands of Ugandans, their plea that the opposition is seemingly getting divided, and there is need for the opposition to forge an alliance. Let us first get your view from the perspective, since you serve as a member and I think a party president of the People's Front for Freedom at Makerere University. What is the perspective, the young people's perspective on this particular alliance of your party, PFF, and ANT?
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Moderator. What I would want to say is that there is a history to this, as you had asked previously. Uganda's political history is replete with the alliances. Let us leave alone whether they have failed or they have existed briefly, and after elections, they have gone away. The idea is the ANT-PFF Alliance presents a unique opportunity for Ugandans. Why? Since our history is replete with failed alliances, the Kabaka Yeka UPC Alliance failed, the TDA Alliance in 2016 failed, the IPFC, that is in 1996, Dr. Paul Kawanga Semogwere failed, and even in 2006, an alliance failed. Now,
so what makes you think this alliance will not fail?
What makes me think this will not fail is that each of those alliances that have failed offers the opposition, the current opposition, ANT and PFF, a wealth of lessons from which we can draw from and learn what went wrong where. And perhaps it also speaks to the current times, is that the context is different. These leaders are now mature enough. I feel that the timing is right, that FDC, formerly, where PFF has come from, and ANT, where ANT has come from as well, they have been making the same mistakes. So I believe that the people in ANT and PFF today are mature, and they have seen some of this before, and it should offer them a wealth of lessons for which to draw and learn from and forge a way forward.
All right. You just mentioned the people who have forged or made these political parties were previously in the then Forum for Democratic Change.
Yes.
And your assertion is they have lessons that they've learned from this historical, quote unquote, your words, failings of the previous alliances.
Yes.
Now, these are individuals who have been in these political parties from of course, time of the founding, time of them splitting away and forming their own political parties. So what makes it a very unique stand this time round, that these individuals will not go ahead and have a failed alliance?
Well, thank you so much. I think that the times are different. These leaders, by the time they have come together, ANT and PFF, remember General Mugisha Muntu left FDC, he left those of Semujunga and Lukwago in FDC. Now, they have come back together, even Semujunga and the friends Lukwago, Dr. Besigye have left FDC. They have also found a new political home. Now, I think these leaders of ours have reached a point where they have to tone down their ego. They say, look, there is no way we are going to move forward without coming together. They have seen this, and I am pleased that if they are forging a way forward, it is to find a common ground for how they can proceed. So the lessons they have learned from the previous failed alliances. For example, I will look at the alliance of 2008, the Inter-Party Cooperation, IPC. That alliance was forged in 2008, 3 years prior to the 2011 elections. The reason was to field a single presidential candidate, because at that time they had argued that it was better for the opposition to compete only against the NRM and not against each other. The reason that alliance failed, observers at the time said that it was because of the disagreement on whether to participate in the 2011 elections or not. Now, of course, other people at the back come and say, no, it is not. It went down to the relationship between these political parties. But I believe right now, because democracy evolves, so our leaders are increasingly reaching a point where they have to say, no, look, we have to bury our ego at some point to make sure we achieve what we want.
Okay.
Yes.
Proscovia, the National Resistance Movement has been in power for close to 40 years. And you have seen, of course, it was your party that introduced us to, first you started with the movement system, you introduced us to multi-party dispensation in 2006, and now we're in the dispensation. In your era, we have seen a couple of alliances, with the recent one being the one of PFF and ANT. Does this make your party scared?
That's a very interesting question. One, I need the people to understand that NRM has tested the test of time. Holding power for 40 years proves that you've been trusted and proven. We started with a movement, system from 1986 when we took over power to 2006 when we realized that it is high time we gave opportunity to other people also to engage. And of recent, the multi-party democracy under the Netherlands Institute of Multi-Party has been assessing how the 20 years of multi-party democracy has been operating. As an individual, I'm a bit disappointed in the opposition that even after 20 years of testing them with operating in the opposition field, they have not proven to be ready enough to take over power.
But aren't you being very harsh to just judge them on 2 decades?
No, I'm not. 2 decades is a quite number of years that any organized entity can use to transition.
But similarly, they would argue that 40 years is enough time to have an organized system.
We are organized, and I want to look at the PFF and the ANT. Yeah. When you follow closely, PFF and ANT came from FDC, right? They are all childbirths of FDC. So, to my understanding, I do not even understand why they should be making an alliance if their parent is the FDC. To me, if children can break off from the parent, that means from the word go, there was no seed that was built. So there was no seed that was planted for opposition or maybe for the FDC and the PFF and the ANT to organize. So from the word go, there's no organization. And I must say, as the NRM, we are not scared because we are just seeing a bunch of disorganized people jumping from one place to another. From Katonga, from now to Najana Nkumbi, from now I hear they are making alliances, but realize there is no a solid foundation on which they are standing. Personally, as an individual, by now, I would be thinking FDC should have grounded enough to be now, the alliance would have made more meaning if it is an alliance of the initial FDC without the breakups of the ANT and the PAF, making maybe it with NUP and maybe DP. It would carry more meaning. But this is a family affair.
But excuse me. But also understand, under the multi-party democracy, there is it propels the idea of course disagreeing on certain principles, and that is why you first of all saw the birth of ANT, because they disagreed on certain principles that retired General Mugisha Muntu believes in, and that is why he formed the Alliance for National Transformation. Disagreeing on ideas is a good thing for a growing democracy.
True.
And it stepping away from FDC and forming its own political party on grounds of ideology and forming that on that ground, you will not go ahead and discredit Alliance for National Transformation. I think the argument that the National Resistance Movement could possibly now be fronting at this point is one, as a political party, you already have ground. What ground do you have? You have been mobilizing for close to 40 years, which of course the PFF and ANT at this point do not have. So now my question to you is, if you have the base, if you have the firm grounding in terms of you have the numbers and you have been mobilizing for all these years, why is it, let's just talk about the possible opportunities now for ANT and PFF. Will the National Resistance Movement give this new alliance an opportunity to thrive in the democracy?
Wow. I must say one of our core objectives and values of NRM is democracy.
Yeah.
And I must say that we are ready to give them the ground for them to thrive. But of course, you know, yes, we are ready to give them the ground, but are they organized? It is incumbent and upon themselves to first reorganize themselves so that, because actually as we speak right now, you're free. That's why we see very many political parties coming up. You're free to come up with your political party, you go and register. Nobody has a problem with you. So I think the ANT and the PFF Alliance has whatever it takes for it to thrive. It has all the opportunities at its disposal, so it doesn't have anyone to blame in case they fail to perform.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let me get to you, David. The agreement provides 3 grounds: that you will be fielding joint candidates, coordinating campaign strategies, and avoiding competition in key areas. Let's start with joint candidates. Previously, the other alliances that we have seen, of course, the one of 2008, that they were fledging one presidential candidate, and on other positions like the president and the members of parliament and in the various communities, they would front their own candidates. This one seems to be unique. They seem to argue and say that in this agreement, in certain areas, they will send a joint candidate. And we saw in 2021, the National Unity Platform had the leeway of presenting to the floor of Parliament most members of Parliament. Does this particular clause on your agreement present an opportunity for Alliance for National Transformation to have more legislators on the floor of Parliament come 2026?
Yes, I believe it does.
But how will it work? Because we know most politicians have an ego.
It's important. You see, she has put out a lot of criticism of possible failures that can happen, and that goes to the leaders who are in this. Make sure it's your responsibility to make sure it doesn't fail, because at the end of the day, if you fail, you will justify them. So that's why I like critics, because they challenge you, and it's me. I sometimes I say it's good that Museveni doesn't just hand over power, because eventually when you become president, in this world, in this country, there are also global powers that are trying to step on the countries. So you have also to confront. So if you just give in like that, and then you will have difficulty to the Uganda. So at the end of the day, the Alliance for National Transformation members also have to stand out, so that when we come to say we have a joint coming up with a joint candidate, there are grounds on which you best to say this member of the Alliance for National Transformation really should be the one support. Because, for example, in Ginger, Honorable Mwiru lost, but he was a member of the Alliance for National Transformation, but he lost to NRM. So that means he was in opposition, he was at the front. So if he had the support of NUP and all opposition, probably would have won. So there are also many areas where we had such candidates, where the candidate who lost to NRM is for Alliance for National Transformation. Even though we did not win, we have those candidates that can stand out. So we hope that the backing of the alliance can help these candidates. And there are also new who have come up, but we challenge them to build their ground, so that at the end of the day, we are selecting one candidate to stand. But even if we don't come up with one candidate, because it must be clear that it's not automatic that we have one candidate. There are areas where we might disagree on who's.
But on that point, because the argument propounds that you're trying to avoid competition in key locations.
So the agreement, let me correct it. The agreement suggests that areas where we cannot have one candidate, we should avoid hostility. Yeah. So we may have maybe two candidates, but they are not hostile to each other. They are not using the meaning. Generally, we are still same team. It's helping each other, but giving the voters alternative opportunities to vote. So if that happens, still we hope that member should be able to stand out. But our biggest prayer is that we can have one candidate as the Alliance for National Transformation, and it should be as the joint PFF and ANT. And we are still talking to NUP and to join the alliance. So it's not stopping here. This is just the beginning that you should understand. It's just the beginning, and we will go, because there are many areas also where there's NUP, but the NUP candidate was nowhere. So we can always have an alliance, and the alliance brings about a candidate who's much stronger, supported. But generally, there's an important thing to know is that life is logical, but also psychological. So psychologically, this helps because she sees this as disorganized. That's why she's probably stuck with NRM. Whatever it does, she's stuck with it, because we are not looking organized. So forming such alliances, and probably we might make her see that we are organized. Then maybe now, because you see, the NRM,
you will make ANT and the opposition look more appealing and attractive.
You see, at the end of the day, the NRM has been here for 40 years. But if you come to the figures, even the inflated figures, when the votes end, they don't get the majority as such, because we can have 18 million. Last time we had like 18 million, and their votes were less than 6 million. So that's, if you compare to the number of voters, so it's probably, someone can argue that there are many people who are like, me, I will not go to vote because the opposition is disorganized, the NRM is just not serving us, so those people are there. So we hope we can also bring those people on board, And finally, when we are organized and we look doing the right thing, they can come and join, because at the end of the day, that shows the people who don't want the current government probably are the majority, because the government, which is claiming to be doing a lot of people, only gets less than 6 million out of the 18 million. That's which percentage? It's less than half. So it's possible to argue that majority of the people don't want the current government. So our effort is to bring those people and say, yes, you don't want the current government, now do something. We are organized, we are here, we are an alternative. And that now lies to our friends in PFF and our leaders in ANT to make this work. And thank you for bringing up this topic, because at the end of the day, if it works and we transform this country, because you see the NRM has a problem that they don't have a good government to refer to. That has existed before them. The regimes that were there, they're also corrupt. They're also killing, doing prejudicial killing. So generally, those are the examples they have. So if we have good leadership that comes after them and we give them good example, we hope that the next one that will come will have a benchmark.
Interesting. Christopher, the reasoning from the Alliance of National Transformation seems to signify that this agreement or this marriage that we are seeing between People's Front for Freedom and Alliance for National Transformation is one that is for convenience, but it's one that also is transform Uganda. The first ground of this alliance is to field joint candidates, which I succinctly asked my brother David to demystify further on that. And it tells us that this particular ground of only first fielding joint candidates would help solidify the opposition, but also on certain strongholds, be in position to win, because we saw in the previous elections areas that were seemingly not even strongholds to the NRM were taken away by the NRM, and the opposition seemed to be weaker. And this relationship, as they term it, is more of an awakening to the opposition, a new dawn to present us with new opportunities to the opposition. But I want to get still your opinions and views on grounds of this argument. That one, we are going to field joint candidates. In lieu of the fact that, the arm of government, which is the legislature that has member of parliaments, has, of course, for the past few years been majorly dominated by the sitting government, which is the NRM. So how will this alliance between your party, PFF, and ANT help present a formidable force, to present numerical force, to help outpower the parliament in the house of the members of parliament, that is the legislature? Do you think it is a possibility come 2026?
Yeah, I actually think that there is a huge possibility that this protocol that was propounded can be agreed to, especially fielding joint candidates for different elective positions. Yeah, it is a fact that as opposition, if we want to increase our numerical strength in parliament, we are better off competing against only the NRM and not against ourselves. Now, how viable is this? It is a fact that, like I've told you, that the times are different. We're in a situation where almost all Ugandans have run hopeless. There is no one who you look at and think change will come. Because of the current government, of course, you'll speak to the intimidation that has been created in the electorate, but also you have to speak to the fact that at this point in time, I have what I call political maturity. I'm looking at General Mugisha Muntu, a leader in the Alliance for National Transformation, and then I have our leaders, Honorable Ibrahim Semujunganda, His Worship the Lord Mayor Elias Lukwago, Dr. Kiza Besigye. These people have matured in politics over time, and they have seen things happen They tried it on their own at some point, but they know that they cannot do it. Now, regarding fielding candidates for different elective positions, it is possible if we come to a consensus. And if you look at ANT today and PFF, this is like a salad. It is a blend of different political ideologies which complement each other. You remember that when Mugisha Muntu was leaving the Forum for Democratic Change, it was because he was being accused of being a moderate and not an activist, also like a radical person. Now, here we have PFF, which embraces radicalism, with ANT, which embraces moderation.
Moderate.
They are moderate activists. Now,
More so diplomatic way.
yes, that
resolving
diplomatic way of resolving. Now,
issues.
if we blend both these strategies, we come up with a good salad, which can be a solution in identifying different leaders for different elective positions around the country. So I am looking at the ideologies and then the seniority of the people in these parties. Look at the Honorable Alice Alaso in ANT. Look at the selfless leader in Winnie Kiza, the former leader of opposition. These are people who have seen politics and matured, and most of them are looking for nothing, but they want to see a new Uganda for all of us. So I think they can come up and I can all agree on candidates, but also like we are fielding candidates in different areas, but I think it is still quite manageable because PFF is a new, relatively new party. So it is highly unlikely that we will have even many candidates on different elective positions, especially regards PFF and ANT. If we find such a situation, it will be easier for us to go about it because of the fact that these parties are still kind of new. They haven't been infiltrated a lot per se. So that is why I think that it can work out because the infiltration is late. And of course, all these people are coming from the old FDs and I believe they are robust in terms of ideological orientation. These are people who know what they want. You can see the PFF has been branded as a part of ideologists instead of populists. Yeah, so they know what they want.
Okay, still on that point, remember these are relatively new, relatively new opposition parties or new kids on the block. And of course, when you talk about political parties, you have to look at the numbers. You have to look at technical things like when it comes to mobilization, when it comes to having a database, something that both ANT and PFF need to work on. We are just months away from the 2026 general election. And does this alliance offer you enough time to, first of all, forge the grassroots network to help you oust a current leader that has been in power for 40 years? That's one. And two, they have recently concluded elections it's still ongoing, but it's close coming to an end of youth, persons with disabilities, and the elderly. And we are seeing predominantly two parties that are taking the headlines. One, you have the National Resistance Movement, and two, you have the National Unity Platform. Isn't PFF and ANT missing out on a very core component of the young people and persons with disabilities, but also the elderly, in terms of winning those political positions? Because you are the next crop of leaders. Aren't you missing out with this alliance coming at this point in time? I'll forward to you that question, and later on when I come back after her, you'll also have you'll make a say on that. But let's have your thoughts, Christopher.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think Ugandans should understand that the PFF ANT Alliance is a work in progress. We are still in discussions with other political parties, especially opposition political parties, to get them on board. So that can actually leverage our advantage on the playing field when it comes to February 2026. Because if we finally get down and secure the consent of those other political parties, for example, the National Unity Platform, the Democratic Front, the Political Party of Uganda, if we are, because it's a work in progress, we are still in talks whereas we have a protocol around, but we are still in talks with the National Unity Platform, which is a major opposition political party in Uganda now. So there is still hope, and there is no finality on that of whether because these political parties are new, and therefore how ready can we be to do all this. It is still a work in progress, and I believe that if we are strategic, even with the limited time, we can do it. Because, to take down a dictator, you do not have to have a clear plan. Sometimes when you have a clear plan, it is always botched up. They will come and sabotage you. So dictatorships are not taken down by, you hold meetings, so it has to be abrupt. So what the PFF ANT is doing today is something they know. You remember in 2011 when Besigye used to do walk to work, sometimes the policemen, this military, could then close his home in Kasangati, but then they would be shocked that Dr. Kizza Besigye is in town. So the PFF and ANT know what they are doing at this point in time. For a dictator, you don't have, yes, you can organize, but your efforts should not be all out there, because even what you're reading, or the key points of this protocol, which commits us to work together, is something that has not been revealed fully to the public, because they know that sometimes when you reveal some of this sensitive information and it's copying from previous alliances, they are propounded and then everything is released to the public, and then the state starts infiltrating into this alliance. So it is okay. There is still time, and it is a work in progress. There is no finality about that. The National Platform tomorrow or the other day can decide to join us in the alliance, and then it will even be something different.
Okay.
And so there is no finality about that.
Interesting. Let me get you, Proscovia. I see you smiling. I know the National Resistance Movement is a party that oftentimes are not bothered by these alliances, because you have worked with most of these individuals, or some of them have crossed over to your party, and you have for these 40 years governed this country. Whether others will argue that you have governed poorly, others will argue you've governed well, the fact still remains you have governed and you're still in power. Which now makes me ask, looking at, of course, now the current status quo, the submissions of my brother David and Christopher show that the opposition have learned and are still learning. And this alliance is not just any other ordinary alliance that we have seen before, or that history has provided us with. It's an alliance that brings together not only radicalism, but brings together diplomatic means of resolving issues. You have it in individuals such as Semuju Nganda, and you have it in individuals such as General Major Mugisha Muntu. Those two individuals signify radicalism and diplomatic means of resolving issues. But your party at this point in time, the conversation that I want us now to take this road is, how is the National Resistance Movement prepared or preparing to counter any alliance that is coming from the opposition? Because at this point in time, you seem to wield more power in terms of ground and time. Others argue that you're using already the resources of the country to start campaigns in terms of moving around to do PDM tours, etc., etc. But how is the National Resistance Movement preparing to combat this alliance that is still being forged?
Oh, wow, that's an interesting question. Thank you. One of the ways that the National Resistance Movement is actually preparing to make sure that it encounters the alliances that they are forging. That's if the alliances are serious anyway. Because ideally, as an individual, I do not understand how people that have failed to handle their internal conflicts can come and you want to fight people that have been organized for 40 years. I see that as a joke as an individual. But either way, we are prepared. One of the ways is through our structures, the NRM structures. If you're aware, they started as early as March. We've started earlier last year with registering, making sure that we mobilize our communities, our members to register. We came up with the yellow books. The party invested. Actually, we're a rich party. People have, in our party, people have their resources. We mobilize resources. Yes, not to be proud.
Resources, they say you gain from the state.
Someone, that could be their argument, but if you see right now, our members of parliament, anybody that wants to use our ticket is supposed to pay 3 million. For someone to come under a SEC member, you're supposed to pay 500,000, 5 million. For example, for SEC member, you're supposed to pay 5 million. That shows you that over the years, at least NRM, I'll talk about NRM as a political party. It has empowered its people. Our people of NRM are empowered. That's why we have the resources at hand. So first and foremost, what we did is we earlier on mobilized our people through making sure that all our people are registered. All the members of the NRM are voters. They are registered voters. We didn't stop there. We started with the structures, the NRM structures that are ending on August. They already took place. And the thing is, we are doing grassroots mobilization from the village. So we mobilize right away from the village. And you've just said that the National Youth Structure is taking part. I'm part of the National Youth Structures as I'm speaking right to you. But now, for example, in my district from Tororo, in the whole district, it's only NRM participating. The other people are not even aware. Some of these people even think these are NRM programs. But anybody can participate. But has the other opposition people mobilized its members to take part? Have they organized themselves enough? So for us, our strategy is we have gone into grassroots mobilization. You see now the only problem opposition is facing. It has a lot of social media supporters who are not even voters. The day of voting reaches, people have been shouting. You reach out, they don't even have voter IDs. People are not even aware about that. Up to now, you're supposed to be having your voter ID because it's the only thing that you can use to hold your leader accountable by saying, you know, I'm a voter. This is my voter ID. This is what I'm going to present. This is what can permit me to be able to vote. Now, for us, NRM, as we are speaking right now, we know the number of voters already have as NRM. We are grounded. I've been making tours across the country. You reach on ground, the only political party that is grounded with voters that you can carry even at midnight, even at 2 a.m. and tell them, come out with your voter numbers and they appear, it is NRM. And the political parties they're only having talk shows. They are not doing on ground. I want to advise the opposition. Take time, go into ground. Your voters are not only in Kampala. Go to as far as Kapelebiong, Ongongoja, deep in the village. Let people feel your presence. How do people feel your presence? Through grassroots mobilization. And that's the only way you can go. The first sign of organization is grassroots mobilization. And that's how for us NRM we are ready. Even if they want to all form an alliance, together with JEMA, and I think there are over 10 political parties, even if they all join, because they are not grounded, there is no way they can come and fight us. Yeah. So for us NRM, we have structures that are operational. We are systematic. We just don't wake out of the blue and you say, now we want power, now you see. No. It is a systematic organization. From one level, we visualize 2026 is here. What do we do? Let's register. To what do we do? Are all our members eligible voters? How do we help them become eligible voters? Let us sensitize them. How do we help them? The NRM even went an extra mile and employed staff to particularly enable NRM people to get registered.
But you see, on that point of the beauty that the NRM has is you empower and you have the resources. The recently enacted law against political parties is if you're not in IPOD, you're not going to be given resources for it to conduct all these that you're talking about. When you're talking about grassroots mobilization and structures, the opposition is struggling because one, they have the financing to enable them do that is something that is debatable. But also too, there have of course been a number of issues that we have seen in the opposition. So the NRM has an advantage of they have the resources. Of course, that resources that others argue that the opposition doesn't have. So it is true that you have the structures that the opposition do not have, but is your party willing to let the opposition also receive a particular portion of the national cake, of course, which the law at the moment has seemed to curtail that window?
But I of recent I've just seen under iPod, all political parties were entitled to get money.
But political parties who do not want to subscribe to iPod are not getting
now
money.
who is to blame for a political party that does not want to subscribe to iPod? Is it us, the NRM people?
It is a question that because the people who passed the law in parliament, of course, most of them, majority are NRM, who are told what to do.
I want us to be clear. Most of them are not NRM. Most of them are leaders who have devoted time into winning elections in their constituencies. Even if you're NRM and you cannot mobilize and win an election in your constituency, there is no way you can be helped. So all those people are leaders who have proven they are the best candidates. We are just lucky that they align with the NRM. It's just luck. But
Really?
you cannot, yes, because they look for votes. Right now, the NRM party flag bearership is taking place. People are working. Other political parties are in Kampala taking beer and making arguments on TV. They are not on ground. So later, because someone has now been, you know, these things of early participation into this, that's why even the NRM puts that thing of people getting the flag. It trains you on how to handle. Even if you're a first timer, this time gives you an opportunity to relate with the people. So by the time the general elections come in 2026, you're already grounded. You have a start. So we are just lucky that we have an organized party, one. Then two, we are just lucky that people who subscribe to the NRM are people who know what it takes. They are ready. They prepare themselves. They know what it takes for someone to win an election or maybe to have power. So we are not to blame for political parties that do not want to subscribe to iPod. The rules are clear. What does the law say? The law says if you want to get the money, you're supposed to subscribe to iPod. If you do not want, who are you blaming?
Okay. Just as we go into the break, let me conclude with you, David. My sister Proscovia propounds very strong arguments. She's pumped up with argumentation that the NRM is lucky to have one, structures, and two, leaders who are willing to do what it takes to secure the party flag. And the fact that they have the primaries and all that gives their leaders an opportunity to know what it's like to belong to the national resistance movement and have the flag. What lessons do we have to draw from there? But also, what is this alliance going to present, of course, the leaders that are subscribing to PFF and ANT?
Yeah, eventually, as the Alliance for National Transformation, we believe in democracy. Yeah, it's so when you believe in democracy, you are okay with the other parties also having certain positions.
Yeah.
And we must also face the reality that we have been here for a few years compared to NRM that has been there for 40 years. And the other reality is that the NRM did not start as a party. They just inherited the government system because we were on the movement system, and now the others started forming parties outside that system. So they have all the from LOC1, you can, if you move all the LOC1s, most of them will be NRM because they just inherited, and now they are trying to fear also elections in that area. So those are realities that we cannot wish away. But we have to accept that it is a multi-party system, and they also have a right to have win and have position. So if we are not there in the youth elections, well, I don't see that we are missing out opportunities because the positions are not being taken by maybe people who are not Ugandans. They are still Ugandans. And what is very important with the PFF and ANT is that we are giving them a good example of leadership. We are telling them it's not about your political party, it's about Uganda. Let's work for the people. So our leaders are giving them exemplary leadership. And so they might be NRM, they might as their party, but they have to look up to good leadership, the values that they should carry. That's what matters for Ugandans. Because for me, if one day they are doing things that are good for Uganda, like you are not killing people who are imprisoning them. You see, this one talks of the opposition should organize. They should go to the villages. But I think you have been in Uganda. Have you seen them being tear gassed when they go in the villages? Yeah.
The freedom that the NRM gets is not the same as any
so
other
so at the end of the day, we are the problem is not those youth that are causing those things that are tear gassing them. The problem comes from the top. So if we are organizing to change the presidency, all these freedoms will be there. They will not be only there for the Alliance for National Transformation. I'm very sure that these freedoms we are fighting for, if tomorrow General Mugisha Muntu is the president, the opportunities will not be for the Alliance for National Transformation. They will be for Ugandans, whether you are in NRM, whether you are in FDC, whether you are NUP. And the problem with Museveni, at least one reality, I think he has failed to transition from being an NRM leader to being a president of Uganda. He's stuck there. The other day he was speaking on about the PDM things, and he was saying, you stop voting those people, they are the ones, if you start voting NRM, you will get the opportunities. So at the end of the day, if you are in the other political parties, you are an enemy. And it's the problem. It's the problem because once your political party is supposed to bring you as a leader. And then when you become a leader, you be a leader for all Ugandans. And the opportunities should be for all Ugandans. So some of the things you blame us for are not really our making. It is the NRM and the machine, the N7 machine. And you know, for her, she speaks like, we have the power. But in actual sense, it's not her. It's Museveni and his family. And they are like employees. So one day when he sees like he's not tired of you, he can put another one. And it's something that we should work against. We should not build our country on one person. Should build a democracy where everyone has to follow the constitution. And you exercise your powers according to the constitution. But here, when the constitution comes to a point where it is catching maybe General Museveni, it will be changed, as you can see. The removal of term limits, age limits, those are the obvious examples. Because they are like his employees. Once they see it is catching Museveni, they will find a way of removing it. Because eventually the power belongs to the what? That's why I would like also the voters. Some of the things, especially in Parliament, it's critical. If you send us at least balance. If we can now advise them and put a roadblock and say no. For that, we should follow the constitution.
Interesting. All right, we have had an interesting half of the show. I'm very intrigued by the reasoning that I get from PFF and ANT, and also very not surprised with the reasoning I get from the National Resistance Movement, because that is usually the argumentations we often receive. But of course, as a moderator, I am obliged to stay neutral and not pick a side and keep the conversation going. Otherwise, let's just go for a short break. See you in a bit.
Digital rights are those human rights and legal rights that allow individuals to access, use, create and publish digital media, or to access and use computers, other electronic devices and telecommunication networks. Digital rights include a right to freedom of expression, information and communication through technology, a right to privacy and data protection, a right to credit for personal works, a right to universal and equal digital access, a right to identity, a right to anonymity, a right to be forgotten, and a right for protection of minors, among others. The state's digital rights are frequently violated through various unfair actions, for example, blockage of websites and social networks, theft of credentials, unauthorized use of people's data for personal gain, privacy intrusion, online censorship, arrests and intimidation of online users, internet blockages, and the proliferation of laws and regulations that undermine the potential of technology to drive social, economic, and political development worldwide. It is hence every citizen's responsibility to respect rights of other digital users and to speak out or report to the responsible parties when one's rights are violated.
Hello there, our dear esteemed viewers. Welcome back from that short break. Right before we went into the break, we've been discussing very interesting views on the question or youth perspective on the PFF ANT Alliance. And of course, we're interrogating whether this presents opportunities or challenges. My name is Douglas Onen. This is the Youth Roundtable, and we'll come back from the break. Let me get to you, Christopher, before I come back this side. The argumentation just before we went into the break from my brother, David, seemed to propose that the ANT and PFF are strong believers of democracy and firmly believe that leadership shouldn't be about an individual, but on the greater interest of the citizens and of Ugandans. He argues that, you see, with the NRM, you have his words. He uses an analogy, and he says that in the national resistance movement, you have employees of an individual in the first family, that they serve the interest of the president and not the interest of Ugandans. He says that even when we have our sister here, Proscovia, who argues with very strong energy, she serves the interest of an individual. But what PFF and ANT is proposing to Ugandans is a democracy that works for all Ugandans. That not a democracy that looks at the interest of an individual, but one that proposes that if one person is affected, everyone is affected. That a leader is representing the interest of everyone. That is what this alliance is proposing through the various mechanisms that you intend to, of course, get power through, be it radicalism or through diplomatic means or of course, of discourse. But let me engage you still on the same. Besides the grounds of having joint candidature, the other ground that this agreement propounds is on campaign strategies. Campaign strategies that looks, of course, at presenting, I don't know how you intend to do so, which I would like you to address that. You presenting joint candidatures on positions of members of parliament, LC5, and other elective positions. Are we going to see, of course, and as well president? I don't know which candidate you will present for president. How is this joint campaign strategy going to look like? And what should Ugandans be looking for? Because in the previous elections, I know the ANT, in my opinion, had amongst, of course, if not the best manifesto that there is amongst all other political parties. What are we going to see? Is it going to be a mix, as you said, a salad of course, idealism and the other salad of radicalism in the manifesto campaign strategies?
Yeah, I want to first put this clearly is that there is a point you talked about how these are new political parties, but I want to first put it out clearly to Ugandans that whereas the PFF was given a certificate of registration by the Electoral Commission in June, the PFF's activism, the activism had never stopped. Even when we broke away from the FDC, we continued activism. We have been giving alternative policy to government. We have been condemning the act of government. Now, to address the issue of the joint campaign strategy, of course, if we agree to field the same candidate, then we have to agree on a joint strategy to make this candidate win, either to make it to State House or to Parliament or to the district councils and other elective positions. Now, these joint campaigns, of course, start with a manifesto, and then we will move along the lines of in terms of financial cooperation and putting in this candidate. Remember, campaigns need
Resources.
money, they need resources. So in terms of the resources, there is no criteria as of now how these strategies will work out. But in my view, I think it will be form of cooperation in terms of resource mobilization, and then a strategy in terms of campaigning, how do we beat our opponents? Also in terms of deployment, that we have nowadays what people call the foot soldiers. We have the foot soldiers of ANT and the foot soldiers of PFF come together to campaign for a candidate who has been agreed on by the alliance. So it is sort of that. It is going to just be about mutual cooperation once a candidate is agreed on in terms of resource mobilization, but also in terms of deployment. We will have candidates, for example, the PFF president, His Worship Elias Lukwago, go and campaign for a candidate who, even if that candidate is of the ANT background, you go and campaign. So it will be sort of such support. And that is what we have been lacking in previous alliances.
No, but we have seen that in previous alliances, whereby, of course, party presidents move around campaigning for other individuals. So in terms of financing, that is something that is new,
Yes.
because we know our politics has obviously been highly monetized. I don't know where the blame comes from. You could help us explain when it comes on issues of monetized politics. But something that I would like you to close upon is financing, of course, looking at how the politics is at the moment in terms of resources that are required. So how will the financing option then work, and how will it benefit this alliance in trying to field and have a couple of leaders in power?
Yeah, the idea is simple that, you know, when you have only PFF front in the candidate, okay, I'll give an example of the previous FDC, where I was part of FDC, by the way, formerly part of FDC, and then I transitioned with the FDC Katanga faction. I'm now in the People's Front for Freedom. So previously, what we would do in FDC...
He's not confused. He's moving with his ideology.
Exactly. What we would do in
The next thing
FDC
we
is
shall
that
learn.
the political party, you get candidates expressing interest, and they say, you know what? They tell the secretariat, I want to contest as a member of parliament, I want to contest as, especially members of parliament. So the FDC would, but this candidate would say, I do not have nomination fee. So the former FDC would pay nomination fees for most of the candidates who could not afford this nomination fees. But even after paying nomination fees, you find candidates saying, no, I do not have some resources, for example, the campaign paraphernalia. Now, the FDC still, at that time, would often say, we are giving you, say, this number of banners or posters. So they would still, the FDC formally, of course, which were in, bought a printer for posters. So that was the kind of support, resource, that kind of funding that even now you should expect in the FDC, in the People's Front for Freedom, because the brainchild of all that in the former FDC was the Honorable Ibrahim Semujunganda. He was the brainchild behind all the branding in the FDC. And as I speak now, he's also the head of branding in the PFF. So it will not be foreign, it is not something new. But also because ANT will be coming in, and I told you, this alliance is blending ideas. It is even better. I think our resource envelope increases when ANT comes on board. Yeah, but also this alliance is not just about the political party, it's about Ugandans. People are arguing here that, you know, Ugandans outside there on the grassroots are in support of the current government. This is a lie, it is a fallacy. And you cannot believe it. Ugandans are desperate for change.
You know, recently when Museveni was in Wakiso, I saw, I at least this time I saw practically buses of students, primary students, secondary students, They are being brought. He's coming to check on PDM, but they have to make a rally. So they had to collect buses of people. I think it took long even to arrive. They are still trying to collect people to make the rally look big. So if they have that, if they were allowed, that would not be necessary.
An issue.
But the reason buses, several of them, to collect from wherever they came from, I don't know where, to come and try to create a rally that Museveni has people. That would be not necessary if he really had support, but he's struggling. So if the party of over 40 years is struggling in that manner, you know it's a challenge. It's not an easy thing to overcome. So PFF and ANT are doing their best on that front.
Interesting.
So I was still saying that, well, it gives a good viewpoint, an alternative viewpoint, which is good. I was saying that I want to dismiss the talk that the ordinary Ugandan is out for NRM. It is a lie. Ugandans are desperate for change, and they have found themselves in a state of hopelessness whereby if you cannot affiliate with the NRM, you are bound to die poverty, you not even have some money. So they are affiliating with the NRM because of the monetary value associated with that when you go to NRM, you're going to get money. But going back to what I was talking about, especially about how resource mobilization and funding work out in the alliance, is that whereas we do not have the monies the state uses, because the state even goes into the coffers and then they get money, put it in their system, in the NRM, and they are using state resources to run their campaigns. We do not have that amount of money, but I think pulling resources from both ends will work out, and then also looking at things like you getting a printer. You can spend some money on getting a printer, say some millions, but then it can save the money you would spend on going to town and then printing these. So some of those and others can work out in terms of funding.
Interesting. Let me get to you, Proscovia. Of course, as the only lady from the National Resistance Party movement on this show, you have the honors to freely engage on the issues that have been raised, on whether you think what the assertions that have been made by David and Christopher are true, or you can simply agree.
First and foremost, I want to say about what David was saying about NRM fetching people and carrying people. I want first and foremost to admit that the opposition is dominant within Kampala, Wakiso areas.
Kampala Metropolitan.
Yeah, Kampala Metropolitan, which Wakiso is also part. And I will acknowledge that, yes, we are struggling that area and we are trying our best to see that we consolidate ourselves in power. I also want to mean when I said that the grassroots, actually when you're talking about the grassroots, I'm not talking about Kampala. That's why you see now David was so quick to come and prove to me a point that, you know, you're struggling. We are struggling in the Kampala Metropolitan. And because we are a great party, it does not mean that we are operating at perfection. No. We also have, that's why you see me, I have issues with the opposition. They think that for us, actually, things have been on a silver plate. You see, the NUP that has just started is already dividing. FDC is already dividing. What does that show?
But do you know what means? It means you thrive on ignorance. Because if you are struggling in Kampala, where you are, where your state house is, and they are not seeing the good things you are doing, it's because they are here. They can see
David,
who you are.
I
So
want you to-
the far ones.
I
I'm
want
not
you to
saying
know-
they are ignorant.
I want you
So
to know that
means-
even Jesus was fought in his home area. I know you know that. Even Jesus in the Bible was fought
But
in
the
his
home
home
area of
area.
Museveni is
So I want
Rachtura.
us to know, like you
And he's
say,
voted
listen, give me an
overwhelmingly.
opportunity to speak. Like you say that our headquarters are in Kampala. Even Jesus was fought in his home area. In our home area, we are being fought because of of course, you know, the opposition has decided to dominate. So if we were functioning all together, where would you guys have stories to talk about that you're successful? Unless you dominate here, it's okay. But what I'm trying to tell you is, for us, we are for the common people. That's why our interest is not the urban people. No, we are working for the rural, deep in Kapelebiong, na Kapiripiriti, Ongongoja. I want you to begin telling me that you went to Ongongoja and people are opposing the government. You tell me that you were in Otuke, you were in Otuboy. You tell me you're in those parts deep in Sebe, in the hills. I want you to tell me that you've been there and people are fighting. I want you to tell me that you've been deep down in Ibanda, in the mountains. So what we are trying to say is, as a political party, we also have our own challenges. But I'm only happy that you have tested the test of time and we do not allow differences to break us. I'm only happy that for NRM, for the 40 years, we have not divided. Like the FDC that is now developing 2 over 10 political parties and other political parties that are already divided in the shortest time. I'm just imagining what will happen when you take power. People will kill each other.
But that is a
You will fight.
That is a false argument because even the people in the opposition, we began together as NRM, which is
they also stemmed away from
They also stemmed away from NRM.
All the thing is it has been divided.
No, the issue is,
And
if they stemmed away from NRM, why is it that the parent rock where they left is still strong? I want to relate that to FDC. Why has FDC now collapsed? And NRM is still strong.
It comes back to the idea I told you.
It shows
NRM, the remaining NRM is the one which inherited the government structure and is fighting. So it's still successful,
NRM
but it will not
NRM is
succeed
strong.
forever.
Anyway, because of course you know I'm the only NRM and you're from PF and you're ready and you're in your situationship. That's not even, I mean, it's a situationship. It is a union of coincidence and you know, you're trying to survive. After you hustling on your own things are first, so now you're looking for ways. What do we do? Let's try this, let's try that. Later again, you're going to here now. Semujunganda also wants to be president. Mugisha Muntu also wants to be president. Then again they split. The next thing we hear is now you see, I went away because my ideas were not. We are used to those things of opposition. They are always there. There's a way they see, make us see. And you know now it is a political season, so now they want the public to think that they are organized. I want to urge the public, and I want to inform you. Above it all, stick to organization. But also I want to inform the opposition, you're not going to take power when you're still playing politics of blame, of cursing. You know, the NRM bought our members, the NRM bought our political leader. You know, the NRM has a lot of money. It is not our fault that our members are empowered. It's not our fault that when we said that in order for you to come and get a flag under NRM as an MP, you have to pay 3 million. And our people have paid that 3 million and they are very happy. In fact, they're even disappointed that it's only 3 million. It's supposed to be 5 million. So what does that show? We have the capacity. The capacity is not from the government. Many of these people who are buying, who have come to get our flags under the NRM at 3 million, most of them are not even in government. They are not working in government. They are not civil servants. They are ordinary Ugandans doing their work into their businesses. They are farmers. They are doing their own things. So we need to know that the government is not going to come and change your home. It is upon you as an individual to strive so hard and make sure that you change your life. So those allegations that people are saying that for us, we are government royalists, we are royalists of the party. No, we stand for what we believe in. We believe in democracy, and that's why we're allowing other political parties to function. Your disagreements and your disunity is not us to blame. Your failure to lobby for resources and have money is not for us to blame. Your poverty is not our concern. It's not our mistake. It's not our problem that you only have broke people and people who cannot afford coming to subscribe to your political parties. The country has very many people who are capable. Look for them. We are only happy that for us we don't look for them. They come to our party because they know we have tested the test of time.
All right. As you conclude.
As I conclude, you've even given me little time. I wanted to educate people more about what the NRM stands for, but I think they'll need to invite us again and educate the people about the NRM and what it stands for and what it is, so that people just do not come around and throw insults here and there and accuse us of things we do not understand also. I'm even shocked that people actually think that the money NRM uses is from the state. People pay. Do you know how we had over 1,000 people coming to pick nominations for MPs, and everybody was paying 3 million. How much is that? That's a lot of money that can sustain the activities of the party. We do not only have MPs that come and pay money when they are picking nominations. We have SEC members. A SEC member is supposed to pay over 20 million. And last time people were saying, that's why up to now it is the president that is still our leader. One of them is maybe because, for us we are a brand. And because we do not want to distort our quality. That's why the level is up there. You want to come and contest as a flag bearer, you must have money. How are you going to facilitate a campaign when you're poor? First work on your life.
And that's a challenge that people have claimed that the NRM has done, that you've monetized politics.
We have not monetized politics. What we are trying to do, we are trying to empower the economy. Politics is not an escape route of poverty. First work. First have your money. Politics is a place for you to come and serve. The only challenge we are facing with this country, we are having people who are coming in to look for money instead of coming to serve.
As you wind up.
As I wind up, we are going into an election season. Take caution, the youth, especially the youth. Do not just jump up and down like a monkey. Be intentional. If you feel like you cannot do away with violence, stay at your home, but let's have a peaceful election. Then also I want to encourage the youth. You're not going to join leadership out of the blue. That's why even when you're applying, they want to see what responsibilities have you held before. Take part into the mentorship structures. One of them is the National Youth Council. Take part through these structures. Take part in two parties. I don't know the parties. There are different political parties. Take part into those political parties. Apply under the National Multi-Party Democracy. Allowed to be mentored so that you understand how systems work. It is so unfortunate that even up now we have people who still do not know the role of MPs. And you're blaming that on NRM. So I want to encourage the public to take time and educate themselves about more the roles and the responsibilities of many of these elective positions. But then also, I want to encourage all of you, if you want to test time with us, if you want to stand one day and say, I'm glad I made the right choice, come and join NRM. It is the good party for you, especially a young youth. It is the time, it's going to give you an opportunity, one, to get mentored. You're going to get empowered. You're not going to remain the same. You need growth. Come and grow with us. Thank you.
Just a slight humor that has come into my mind as you are making your submissions. Do you follow the Right Honorable Nabanja quite a lot?
Our Prime Minister?
Yes.
No, I actually don't.
It's all right. We shall have that conversation after the show. Yes, my brother David, your concluding remarks.
Yeah, I want to conclude by saying that eventually PFF and ANT, what we are doing is at the moment is focusing on the elections in 2026 and beyond. We want what is being done at the leadership level, we want it to be done in the national level. Ugandans, we are encouraging you to unite. Be united. Don't see your someone from a different political party as an enemy. For us, when we are in charge, I believe, we will mind your poverty. We will mind. We want you also to be okay.
I stop encouraging people to be poor.
So we will not want you to be poor, and then we blame you for your poverty. The government, you see, there's a government which works for its people, and then there's a government which depends on its people. You see, if you see the Israeli government, they can kill 1,000 people for their one person. But we have governments here which can kill 1,000 citizens for one foreign for one foreign interest. So we want to have that government which values its people, despite of your political affiliation. And that's what our aspiration is, and that's why I believe if we have a president like Mugisha Muntu, we can have that. But now for 40 years, Seven has proven that he can't be that president. He's the kind of person where if you are not in the same political party, you are an enemy. You are doing. But that is. But they are the ones who made the constitution, the current constitution, where every 5 years we have to elect. So it's like currently they have made it like it's a trap. Come and you there and we kill you, because they made the constitution when we are supposed to have an election. So I encourage voters, go secretly, cast your secret ballot, but don't cast it for the people who are accepting such values that want to divide us Ugandans. Let's cast ballots for people who want to unite us as Ugandans and who care about your well-being despite your political affiliation. So if we do that, then we will eventually have the Uganda that we dream of.
Thank you. Yes, Christopher, your concluding remarks.
Thank you so much. I want to conclude by making a clarion call to the heads of different political parties out there, especially the opposition, that I have not come together to appreciate the protocol that has been set by ANT and PFF to come and we work together to achieve change in this country. This alliance is a unique one, and it is an opportunity for you Ugandans because it comes at a time when we have many of our relatives rotting in government prisons. We have the civic space in this country is shrinking every day. We don't know what happens tomorrow. Today, President Museveni is premature electioneering, is campaigning already before the official campaigns. Now, we need such an alliance to demand for change in this country. I'm quite sure Ugandans outside there, you are suffering. Many of you have been disenfranchised of opportunity because of some of the practices that are perpetuated by this government. Corruption, those who are corrupt are untouched in this country. So I'm rallying all change-seeking Ugandans and other opposition political parties, plus the civil society in general, to come and rally with ANT and PFF so that we can cause change in this country. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Christopher, David, and Proscovia. You have something to say?
Yeah, I have one last point that you should take note of, that power always flows down. So if it doesn't come from anywhere. So if you see corrupt people, very powerful, you should know where it comes from. It's not, and that means if you change where the power comes from, you will eventually have them hiding. So because they will always be there, but they will either be very powerful or in hiding.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, David. Thank you very much, Proscovia, for the energetic submissions that you've made, and David for the calm and very, very succinct submissions, and Christopher. I think Christopher and David embody what PFF and ANT stand for. And also we see what you embody as the national resistance movement in the young people that we have in these political parties. Otherwise, guys, thank you very much. It has been a pleasure having you all on the show. And to you, our dear esteemed viewers, for always following and watching us on Civic Space TV. Don't forget to follow and like the conversation, to the Center for Constitutional Governance for making this possible. Thank you. And to the production crew, Paul and Brittany, for making this possible. Thank you. Otherwise, see you next week, same time, same place. Bye-bye.